Good evening. Welcome to another episode of Aging with Attitude. And I'm your host, Phil Koch. And tonight we have two great guests. I'd like to introduce everybody to Jackie Hayward, who's with Just One Call. She's the supervisor of intakes. And our other guest tonight is Pat Mayhew, the coordinator for Family Caregiver Support Program. Welcome both of you to the program.
Thank you.
So let's start perhaps with Jackie. And Jackie, why don't you tell us a little bit about Just One Call?
Okay. It's an information and referral program that refers individuals, whether it be caretakers, persons with disabilities, to services in the community so that they can maintain in home safely.
Well, that's fantastic. So, in what different counties does it cover?
It just covers Mecklenburg County. We do have some information from surrounding counties, just because we're so close to a number of counties, but primarily Mecklenburg.
Wow.
And yes.
Now, tell us more about who's involved in your department, and if I'm Mrs. Smith or Mr. Smith and I want to contact Just One Call, what's the best way to reach out to your department?
We have access through the phone, which is, our number is 704-432-1111. And we also have a website, which is justonecall.org, and you can access it either way. If you call us directly, we are answered by 7 social workers. They're skilled individuals with degrees. The biggest thing was we try to reach, whether it be a caretaker, someone in the community who's having difficulties and they'll need to know how to access services. Okay. Our biggest problem, I think, in the community is helping people identify that they're a caregiver or they're taking care of somebody and that they need services.
Right.
I've got a real funny story. I was at the women's show and I'm pushing they're trying to give out information. A woman's pushing, another individual with a wheelchair, and I'm like, come over, let us talk to you about some services, see if we can help you. No, I don't need anything. And they couldn't identify themselves as a caregiver. Yeah. And so that's one of the reasons I had asked Pat to come, so that she could help people understand the caregiving aspect of it, so that we can get those people to call us, so that we can get them connected to services in the community.
Right.
Yeah, you don't have to know the right questions or what you need. That's the wonderful thing about Just One Call. As I've worked with them with the Family Caregiver Support Program, is if you're taking care of someone, a loved one, give them a call. They can point you in the right direction.
So the Family Caregiver Support Program, as well as Just One Call, are nonprofits. Is that correct? In our area?
Correct.
Yeah.
We're actually housed in the Department of Social Services.
Yeah.
And county funded.
Yeah.
And the Family Caregiver Support Programs are grants, statewide grants that we administer through the Department of Social Services.
It's fantastic. So our viewers tonight can contact the number. It really won't cost them if they qualify for the type of service that falls under Family Caregiver Support, or even just to ask generic questions about what they need through Just One Call.
Correct.
And you have 7 social workers?
7 social workers who've worked with us. I think everyone has 5 years or more experience.
Wow.
So we have real seasoned staff answering our phones. And they'll ask a bunch of questions because they want to give the best resource.
Right.
People call and say, well, I don't know what to ask, and that's okay. We'll ask them questions.
Right.
Just kind of let us know what you think you need, and we'll kind of direct you with those resources in the community. We don't expect you to know the answers. That's what we're there for. We ask people that are caregiving for someone, if you live alone and you need resources, or if you're a professional in the community.
Right.
We work with a lot of discharge planners for the hospitals, for agencies that are concerned they want to have their customers connected with the resources. We ask them to call us as well.
Well, I own a large home care company, as you know, and our people contact and refer out to Just One Call quite a bit, especially if it's an area that we might not know as much about, or because basically, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but is it more you're giving advice and consultation almost like a free geriatric care service, almost to a degree, right?
Almost. We try not to give advice per se, but
Okay, sorry.
but we do like to connect people with resources, and that's the biggest thing. We have such an aging population,
Right.
And we want to make sure that they're connected. That's with the design of Just One Call. About a little over 10 years ago, it was a number of people in the community got together and said, we have a huge population that's aging out, and
Right.
they need to know how to maintain at home. And the best way that you can maintain at home is to know the resources.
Right.
Because it's a lot less expensive for someone to stay in their home than it is to go into a facility. And the wonderful services we have in Mecklenburg County, we have programs such as your agency, where people can maintain at home. They have that support system come in if they know how to get connected.
Right.
And that was the design for Just One Call. How do we get people that information so they can be connected? Whether it be, I need in-home aid support, whether I need help paying my bills so I can maintain. There's a number of community resources that are available for that. Whether I need support hose, or depends. Right. Those are some of the basic needs that people need that, we can connect them with resources.
And how many calls do you keep stats on the number of calls you get per month through your department?
We roughly get 3,000 calls a month.
3,000 calls a month.
That's just the Just One Call. We also take the intake for Department of Social Services.
Okay.
I think we always say that's the best kept secret. A lot of people don't realize that the Department of Social Services also has a plethora of services that they offer. They do adult social work, in-home aid programs, caregiver support programs. Those are things that we can connect people with. At Just One Call, we try to use, we're diligent with using county dollars as well as federal dollars. We'll look at all the community resources and connect them. We primarily look at the ones that if they're eligible for DSS, that's no cost usually to the consumer. And then from there, if they want private, we can talk to them about resources there. So, there's an abundance of stuff that we do, whether it be community resources or DSS services.
Fantastic.
And that's the same with the Family Caregiver Support Program. It's set up as a short-term respite, 3 to 6 months, depending on the program. But it's really a time of planning. Each person, each caregiver will have a social worker that they're going to work with. And so during that time, they're going to get some respite, and they're going to get some information about companies such as yours, other community resources, because the caregiving journey is a progression. It usually doesn't stay the same.
Right.
People get worse or get better, but the nice thing is they have a social worker who can help them plan, and we'll give them some in-home or daycare respite during that planning phase. And
tell us a little bit. We talked a little bit earlier before we came on the show today, the difference a caregiver is involved not only in the physical aspect of caring for a loved one or a friend or a family member or a church member, but it's also an emotionally draining thing. Maybe you can touch base on that a little bit. Yes,
it's physical, obviously, and some of the caregivers have their own physical problems. They have illnesses, they're getting older, but as you said, it's an emotionally draining. Just the progression of the caregiving relationship, a lot of times roles are reversed. For instance, your wife is no longer acting like your wife. She may be more acting like a child, in whether she has dementia or an illness where you need to take a caregiver, almost a parental role to help her. And so you're having role reversal, and you're having just the behaviors sometimes with dementia are exhausting. Somebody may be up all night instead of sleeping and some of their behaviors may be unusual. So we try to walk with people through that, referring them to support groups. We have caregiver education events for them where they can meet other caregivers and talk about what it's like. There's also a powerful Tools for Caregivers program that we can help provide or refer to others like it, where they can get with other caregivers and learn how to handle, because one of the hardest things too is you're taking sometimes you have to slowly take somebody's independence away because they're not safe.
Yeah.
So they may not realize that they can't drive anymore, but you see that they're very dangerous to be on the road.
They don't want to realize.
Or they don't want to realize that, exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing is, like I said, the difficulty of understanding that you're a caregiver, that your spouse can no longer do some of the things that they did, or mom, or dad can't do those things, and
Right.
you're now their caregiver. And I think, like I said, the scenario I used where someone was pushing the person in the wheelchair is that, there's different degrees of caregiving and helping people understand that, when does it, I'm helping mama out because she's had a surgery, to mama can no longer make some of those decisions and I need to take a further, bigger step in being a caregiver. And I think that's hard.
It is hard. In the business that I own, I'm amazed at how many times a senior will say, well, that's why I have 2 daughters. They're here to help me. Well, they are here to help you. They love the seniors. They love their parents. They want to help. But they also have families of their own and oftentimes careers of their own. It's not that they don't want to help, but they don't have 24/7 to be able to give as much time as they'd like to. And the burden and the stress and the guilt that they can't give that much time sometimes can be overwhelming.
And I think that's really the step of helping them know that it's okay
Right.
to reach out and to get
Yes.
assistance, whether it to be call us to find out what resources are available to help them,
Right.
or they've reached that point where they say, I can no longer do this and I need to get another service in to assist or augment what they're doing. That's the biggest thing, and trying to get them to understand that. And I think that's why Just One Call is unique. We're not just an information and referral program.
Right.
We actually are social workers. We're going to take that time to say, can you tell us more about the situation, so we know where what services are best, what can we help you with.
So would a typical call be, give us some examples of some typical calls that you might get on a daily basis. And before I even ask that, what are the hours of Just One Call? Is it 24/7, 365, or is it Monday through Friday? Or
It's Monday through Friday,
Okay.
8 to 5.
Okay.
We also do the Adult Protective Services intake, and that is 24/7, and there's another number for that. That's if you have any concerns regarding an adult being abused, neglected, or exploited, we ask that you call 704-336-2273, which is the DSS number, and that's manned 24 hours a day.
what was that number again?
704-336-2273.
Okay, and that's for an Adult Protective Services. And give us an example, if you may, of just a couple quick examples of why somebody would call asking for Adult Protective Services.
If they have any information regarding someone not being cared for, whether they be left home alone and they have dementia. We've
Right.
had some recent incidences in Charlotte where someone was found wandering, and we want to catch that before it gets to a tragic situation. Whether it be someone who can no longer care for themselves. My neighbor's no longer picking up their trash, their trash bin. I haven't seen them in a few days. I'm really concerned because they've been doing some odd behaviors. If they just want to have someone check on them, we can facilitate that. The police can do a check. Or if there's other concerns, whether it be someone not being cared for, those would be some of the calls that we would get for Adult Protective Services.
Right. And then tell me, what would probably be the most common generic calls you get in for Just One Call,
For Just
if it's
One
not
Call?
Adult Protective Services?
I think this has been a hard time for a lot of people
Yeah.
with the financial stuff going on and some things. So we get a lot of calls regarding, older adults are saying, I'm on a fixed income.
Right.
I need some help with some food, or I'm having to make some tough decisions regarding getting my medicine, getting food, or getting transportation. Transportation is a big issue in our
Yes.
city.
Yes, it is.
And so we get a lot of calls for that as well. So those are some of the typical ones.
Yeah.
But we get everything from, I'm having mom visit. I don't have the apparatuses that she needs. We'll connect them with a medical closet so they can get some of those served, like a toilet adjuster.
Right.
And those type of things. So we get those type of calls, or, temporary things that they need support hose, or those type of things.
Right.
So we get everything. So, and we also have some people that are, have a hard time seeing the phone book. We'll get some of the seniors that'll call us, say, can you help me find the information I need to know about? And, they can't access that. So we get a little bit of everything.
So when you talk about equipment, like a DME provider, durable medical equipment provider, which means,
Right.
let's say, wheelchairs or bariatric mattresses or a lot for the bathroom, I would imagine, right?
Yes.
Bathroom equipment, right?
Grab bars and stuff, and that's the other thing.
Right.
If they call for those type of equipment, we can either connect them with a community closet where they may be able to get those, or agencies that provide that.
Right.
Also, Caregiver Support has some funding that they can get some stuff in so that they can live independently a little bit longer if they
Right.
meet those things. Maybe Pat could talk a little bit about that.
Yes.
We try to reduce the caregiver stress however
Right.
we can, and one of the aspects of our program is we have funds for incontinence supplies, Depends.
Okay.
That is for the care recipient, but it relieves stress for the caregiver. They're very expensive.
Yeah.
And so we have an arrangement with a medical supply company, and that is something we can provide through our caregiver support funding. We also can provide wheelchair ramps, and that's a wonderful benefit we can provide. And we have an arrangement with a volunteer organization, and they actually provide the builders.
Really?
And yes,
didn't know that.
for no cost. And the caregiver support program provides the lumber. And they are quick. They're very, they do a wonderful job. And
Wow.
so that gives the caregiver, this may be a new caregiver who has steps on their house, you know, and they need to get mom out to the doctor. So we can help arrange that.
Right.
And also miscellaneous medical equipment. If there's no other resource for that, we can help with the caregiver support program. Sometimes supplemental nutrition such as Boost or Ensure. We have arrangements where we can help folks with that because caregiving is very expensive.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and most folks are taking this on, like you said, on top of a job and family. And so we like to be able to provide that support.
So if somebody has a wheelchair and they're concerned about getting to and from their house or apartment or condominium or retirement center, they could contact Just One Call.
Just One Call.
And if under the right circumstances, somebody could actually come out and provide a wheelchair ramp
Yes,
for free
yes,
if they're a resident of Mecklenburg County.
that's
Yes,
correct.
that's
Okay.
There are some requirements there. I think it has to be privately owned or approval for a landlord, so those type of things. But you know, we always encourage people to call. It doesn't hurt to call
Right.
for anything. You know, ask questions. We'll be glad to connect you with the resources. So we don't want anybody not to call because they're concerned they won't meet the qualifications.
And that's the thing with our social workers. If we can't provide it, they're very good at looking at what other resource can provide it.
Right,
So,
right. What's the most interesting thing you've ever gotten a call about for Just One Call? Kind of caught you off guard.
Actually, I think I've had, and it's the longest distance call. I got one from Australia. He
Really?
needed his mother. He was trying to get her on a plane to go to Australia, and needed some paperwork completed. And so we coordinated with the Social Security Administration to get some of that information to them, so that the woman could board the plane. And it was like within 24 hours. It was.
Really?
Yeah. So, and she was a resident here. And I think it was, she needed to have proof that she didn't receive services here so she could get on the plane. And so we are coordinating that.
The call
so
came
that
from
was
Australia.
Australia. So
Jeez.
you never know. You pick up the phone, you have no idea what's at the other end of it. But I think that's probably one of the most different. The other thing is like people assume that we can't assist. Like I had one lady who called, and this is kind of the whole idea of what we look at holistically. The lady called and said, "I can't make my car payment. You know, I'm now a caregiver for my aunt and my grandmother, and you know the money is stretched real thin."
Right.
Well, there's really not resources for paying cars. But I said, "Tell me a little bit about your situation." This is something our social workers do every day.
Right.
And in talking with her, finding out she was a caregiver, we were able to connect her with other resources, caregiver support, also some food pantries in the area, and freed up some of that money so she could make the car payment.
Right.
So it wasn't just paying the car payment, but it was looking at holistically those needs. What else can we connect you with that will meet that need?
I think that's a very good point. You know, in the business, I've been in the industry for a while now, and I think a lot of people don't assume that if they're going to talk to a social worker, they have a black and white list of, okay, I need an assisted living, here are the companies. I need a home care company, here are the companies. But in reality, it's usually a mixture of people that they already know or companies that they know, and it's kind of thinking out of the box, because every single issue or usually a family issue, family dynamics, is probably different from everyone else, no?
Yes.
You see that?
Yeah, and it's also, people have the misconception that if it's Department of Social Services and social workers, they have to be in poverty
Yes.
or on Medicaid. And actually for the Family Caregiver Support Program, we help folks who are not eligible for Medicaid.
Right.
And because there are programs, and we refer for those who have Medicaid, they have programs that they can receive help.
Well, that's a good point and a good transition to tell us more about Family Caregiver Support Program and how it falls between a Medicaid program, PCS, which, for example, my company does a little bit of that, but other companies do, DSS, Family Caregiver Support, and then private pay, and how that falls in between.
Right. There are a lot of people who don't qualify for Medicaid.
Right.
And so we help the folks who don't. If we find that they have funds enough, we will refer them onto private. We will show them the options they have under private pay.
Right.
But we're really about planning.
Right.
We're really about looking at what somebody's qualified for.
Right.
And helping them make the right decisions. So we actually don't have an income requirement.
There is a big demand and a big need for it, but I think from what I've seen, there's a lot of people that are not familiar with the program that I wish they were aware of it. They just assume either they qualify, unfortunately, under the Medicaid PCS service, or they don't, and if they don't, then they have to pay privately. But even, I mean, there's this need out there. There certainly is a program out there that can fill that.
Absolutely, there's a huge need, and we try to be at different conferences. We work closely with the Alzheimer's Association,
Right.
and try to get the word out for people.
Yes.
Because we can help.
And that's the thing with Just One Call as well.
Yeah.
There's no payment. There's no income qualifications for most of what we do, connecting people with resources. But we're going to ask some of those questions so we know what's the best way to connect you. If you have insurance that will cover something, we're going to refer you to services that best meet that need, because you have a little bit more flexibility if you're able to private pay or use your insurance than you would a service that that you can use that's free of charge. Sometimes the hours are set differently, so we let community members know what's available.
Right.
And we have the whole gamut. We also have, like I said, adult social work services. The Department of Social Services is the best kept secret. There's senior nutrition programs that there is no qualifications for income. You have to be 60 or older, and there's whether it be in-home delivery meals or whether it be congregate sites, and we can connect people with those. And social work services, no charge for those as well.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of services that people just assume that either they're not going to qualify for, and so they don't call us.
Yeah.
Or we have people who are concerned they don't want to be connected with Department of Social Services, and so they don't call. And Just One Call, we are housed at the Department of Social Services, but you don't become a DSS client just because you call us. That's a completely different system. And so we ask people to call us to get resources so we can connect you with those.
So basically, if you're a resident of Mecklenburg County, whatever the income, this is a free telephone call or a website, which is www.justonecall.org, correct?
And that's a fully functioning website. You can look at the resources there. You can find out your resources in the community. You can plug in what you want. If you want free food resources, it'll tell you what's available in the community.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the same. It's a different interaction site than what our social workers have, but you have the same information available to you there. There's also a lot of information regarding caregiver support. They have their own pages on there as well with resources.
And how many, and forgive me, but Family Caregiver Support is also for Mecklenburg County only?
Yes.
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 And
However, there are programs in the other counties.
Similar counties,
Similar,
yeah.
yes.
Surrounding counties.
So you would contact your local Department of Social Services, or we can help
or
give
you can
numbers
refer
for
it
that.
back
or
to
we can
another
refer.
county, Lincoln County or
Yes.
Aston County, a surrounding metro.
Yeah, this is a statewide program.
Yeah.
And I would encourage anybody, whether they live in Mecklenburg County or outside of it, to call us, because we'll be glad to connect them with what's available in their county,
Right.
if at all possible.
So how many under the Family Caregiver Support Program, how many per month or per year different families, would you care for?
Well, we provided probably about over 300 caregivers last year with respite.
Wow.
And gave them a break.
Yeah.
And we provided some with the incontinence supplies, wheelchair ramps, and a lot of it also is information and referral that the social worker may go out, and it may not be a match, but they'll help them find what's the next step.
And so our viewers know when we talk about respite, we're talking about it could be for one night or a weekend or a short-term period as opposed to long-term, although
Yes.
it could be long-term as well, right?
Yes, it
Okay.
could. It could. And we start with the caregiver support program, which is the short-term temporary. But then we try to, if they still need help, we try to get them on our in-home or adult daycare programs or refer out. The caregiver support programs are short-term and temporary.
Right.
When we say
It's-
short term is about 3 months.
About 3 months.
And what would be an average, if somebody was to qualify under a short-term program, what would the average number of hours be per week, for example, they would probably get qualified? I know it varies. It
Well,
depends
and
on the
we,
client, yeah.
right, and the nice thing about family caregiver support is the flexibility. And so we give them 80 hours to use within 3 months, and they can use it whenever they want. They can use it in a couple days,
Yeah.
in 1 week, or they can use it throughout the 3 months, or daycare 36 days.
Okay.
In that 3-month period. So that's the whole emphasis is on flexibility. We don't want to cause more stress
No.
to the caregiver. So it's like they get a deposit in their bank,
Right.
and they can use it how they want.
Now, can they re-qualify for another 3 months if they need it?
They can. We try to give first-time caregivers the priority.
Yes.
And so we do keep a waiting list of those who have already received.
Right.
And usually during the year, we can help them.
Yep.
But we have a huge demand from the new caregivers, so we're trying to give everybody a chance.
Right, right.
Or connect them with resources.
Or connect them with resources, exactly.
And who created Just One Call as a whole? When was it done, roughly?
Roughly about 12 years ago. And like I
Okay.
said, it was a bunch of community leaders who
Yeah.
said we're having these, age out population, so we need to get resources. And so it was about 12 years ago.
Wow. How many people, were there 7 social workers back then?
No, I think when I came on board about 9 years ago, I think we had 5. So we've expanded.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. Well, obviously, Just One Call and Family Caregiver Support Programs are both fantastic programs offered by our county and city, and we welcome any of our viewers that are watching tonight to contact them. Just One Call, 704-432-1111, Family Caregiver Support Program. Please contact either one. Again, my name is Phil Koch. I'm the host of Aging with Attitude. I would like to thank our 2 guests tonight, Jackie Hayward from Just One Call, and I would also like to thank Pat Mayhew from Family Caregiver Support Program for their time here this summer coming in tonight.
Thank you for having us.
Well, thank you, and I
Thank
look
you.
forward to everything.
Thank you.
Thank you for the future.
Thank you.
Take care.